about as close as we get to the natural world, for most of us, is in these little in-between spaces, these little green belts, these little greenways, like here in Highlands Ranch. But if you notice, we don't hear the sounds of the natural world. We're cut off by roads and highways and traffic and semis and honking. Lots of white noise pollution that keep us separated from our connection with the people of God all throughout the biblical times, from the Old Testament of Ezekiel, the prophet, to the New Testament of Jesus, our Good Shepherd. One of the lessons that we'll be exploring this Sunday is the ways in which so many of us feel disconnected from our humanity at the deepest level, disconnected from society at a meaningful and fulfilling level where we are fulfilling our function and our role as the people of God. This sort of disconnection is endemic in a culture that has nature deficiency, but also a spiritual crisis. And the two images in the Bible that the prophet Ezekiel speaks to, Ezekiel is called the watchman on the tower, the watchman on the wall. And as a prophet, he sees God's will and God's plan for his people, and he sees the ways in which his own people, the people of God, have reneged, have abandoned, have ignored God's holy vocation for them and for the nations through them. The two images that the Bible uses are the king and the shepherd. And actually, in the Near East, that ancient image was the shepherd king. From Babylonia to Egypt, the shepherd king was an image to explain the ways in which God was in relationship to his people. You know, I used to think that all those parables and stories of shepherds were sort of like this rich green field, this pasture sort of like Wisconsin, where the cattle could get fat and lay down by these broad, wide rivers. But that's not exactly so. In fact, the truth is the landscape was rocky and mountainous and treacherous. And so God's sheep, they needed a shepherd, they needed a guide to keep them safe, to protect them, and also to lead them to spaces of green pasture and food. And so this Sunday we're going to explore this image of the Good Shepherd and the way that we as Grace Presbyterian Church are called to be the Good Shepherd in our community for scattered and lost sheep. So many of us have experienced loss, and for so many of us there is longing waiting in our hearts to be birthed, and they just need someone who is an ambassador of the good news, someone who is an embodiment of the Good Shepherd who Jesus truly is and calls us to become. Go, find, feed, and harvest.